ski, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Joel, and alongside me, I got Scotty, Dolph, Los, Charlie behind the camera.
And to my right, we got the myth, the legend himself, the custodian, my boy, Sergio Picasso.
Got the sound effects and everything. I love it. Thank you guys for having me on. This place is super sick,
man.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you, bro. First off, bro, I gotta say, bro got some drip, bro. Bro came in here fitted. He got the jacket. He got the J's. He got the whole. You feel me? Man,
Nice.
You live one life, man. That's it. Just enjoy it.
Hell
You
yeah,
can't
I
take
need
money
one
to
of
the
those.
grave.
100%.
You're right.
But honestly, like the Connect, this is all new shit. Like the Connect jackets and stuff. It's time to really start putting the lifestyle brand out there because we're a community.
Yeah.
People want to support. It's like this is a free event to attend. It's not anything that we're charging for. So if we can at least put something cool from a merchandising perspective out there, like shit that I want to wear, it's like cool. All right, let's see if anybody wants to fuck with that.
Bro, it's
100%.
smart. You're like a walking ad, bro. You got Connect on your phone. You got it on your jacket.
It's personal branding,
Smart,
man.
bro.
Like I've experienced, brand plays. I've experienced a lot of different type of marketing tactics throughout a number of different industries. Yep. And for me, branding is all about just acting. Act with positive intent. And so if you like to do something, you like to represent something a certain way, fucking feel it. You move on with it.
Yep.
And a lot of times,
right.
like there's brand guidelines, and I know we'll kind of dive into Your Highness, but that is the cool thing about the Your Highness brand is that they've built something from an organic nature. And that's really where you start to see why a brand like Your Highness is a mainstream brand itself that doesn't just play in cannabis, but it's also available worldwide in every Zumi store, in every Spencer store, because it is agnostic. It does have a lifestyle capture, it does have a brand tone to it. So that's all I'm trying to do, man. It's just, brand ourselves the way we want to and just have fun with it. It's
I
smart,
love it.
Hell
I
yeah.
love it.
you do you design your own stuff, like your jackets, your sweaters, and hoodies, and everything?
I
It's all
have, man.
you?
Everything's ad hoc, dude. That's really the way that I've gotten into the industry itself. Back in 2016, I was actually up here in Sacramento. I came from the hospitality industry prior to the cannabis world, and so I was on a ride along. We were driving up and down the 80, and I think it was a billboard for like, I don't know, it was a delivery service or something. And I made a comment. I'm like, oh, that's so sick. They're actually advertising bud up here. And my territory manager that I was driving with, she was kind of like glancing over at me. She's like, hey, I don't know if I should be telling you this, but my husband's in the industry. I'm like, tell me more.
Oh, okay.
We got to know. So anyways, my curiosity piqued. And so she introduced me to the group. It was, her husband and, the group that he was affiliated with. That was the group that I went into an investment with. And, there was a whole Prop 215 to 64 plan. It didn't quite turn out that way, but it was a wonderful introduction into the industry for me, because going into deep water culture with vertical LED lights in 2016 was like, this was like a way far advanced technology from a cultivation standpoint, because I didn't trap packs when I was a kid. Like I was just like the local plug for the athletes. Yeah. Like I would buy a zip and keep the eighth, that kind of thing. So my like cultivating itself, like I didn't really get into cultivation until until I got into the nursery game, and that's where I was like, okay, I want to see the expressions, and validation and all that process was part of it. But that's I don't want to go on a tangent on that side, but that was kind of like where the whole experience of learning how to do stuff like branding and learning how to use Adobe Illustrator. And I didn't know how to do any of that shit. I just went on to YouTube, figured it out, and, just tried it. And that's how the Cultivated logo came about. I just designed that shit on AI, and
Hell yeah.
it's still there today.
Hell yeah, it's
But-
so
Classic
active.
too.
Yeah,
When
hell
I think of the brand, it's literally that. So
Thank you.
So I mean, we all know you're in the Connecta community now. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so organically, the Connect just happened, right? So back in like, early 2021, in the green zone, we have a brewery called Big Sexy.
Yeah.
And so we would periodically just bump into cultivators there naturally, just coming out from, after work, and we'd go have a beer and, start bumping into people, start talking shop. It's, that first initial like gathering, it was me and the guys from Icanic, I call them up like, yo, you guys want to, go grab beer? Let's chop it up. Tell me how those genetics are doing that we sold you.
Yeah.
And anyways, they brought like, their crew. It was like 6 or 7 people that they rolled deep with. And I was like, oh shit, we got like a crew here sitting at the bar top. We were just trading game and just talking, vibing out. And that's the cool thing about what the Connect has evolved into. It's a safe place for cultivators because typically like there's not really a place where you can go and just shop about cultivation. Naturally you start to see cultivators that are in a comfort zone, and then when they're around other passionate cultivators, you start talking about cultivation. That's where the text starts to get shared. 100%. So let's fast forward 3 years. Like we have a production now. Like the Connect is an actual production series, and it's wild to think that cultivators just gathering once a month in a brewery, evolved into what it is today. But that's honestly why it's so organic. Like we didn't push or prod or anything. Like we never wanted this to be a pay to play type of a community. Right. Obviously it's free to attend. Yeah. The way we actually power the Connect events is through sponsorships from our supplier partners. Like for example, the way it really started to get formalized was, well, first off, I was laughing because one of the bartenders at Big Sexy, Jason, one day he's like, hey man, I got a microphone and a speaker in the back. Do you mind if I hook it up so I can hear you while I'm pouring beer? He's like, I want to hear what you guys are talking about. I'm like, yeah, dude, that sounds cool. So that was like the first time I like held the microphone, and it just evolved into that. It just manifested from there. Wow. So that brewery. You guys have been to Big Sexy Brewery, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was cool because like it evolved from like a group of 10 people to 30 people to 50 people to like regularly 100 people showing up on these Tuesday nights. Yeah. People are like, why don't you move it to the weekend? I'm like, why? We're coming off from being under the lights all day long. Like, no, this is something that we can go to after. Like, nobody wants to go to the green zone if you don't have to be in the green zone.
That part.
Remind them.
So for work. And shout out to Kevin Vu, because he was the one that's like, nah, dude, keep this shit on the Tuesday after work, because that's when you're gonna get the most attendance, and it's gonna be more convenient for the farmers, which he's totally right.
Is Kevin at Indoor Sun and Hydro?
Kevin's the founder of
Shout
Indoor
out.
Sun.
Yeah, he's the man.
So, big time. He's the man.
Trying to understand this more from like a business perspective. Yes. So when you run these events, let's use Kevin in this example. You hit him up. Does he rent out the spot for you for the night, or?
Great question. So again, going back to the organic nature of just people that wanted to be a part of the Connect. Dope. Like at Big Sexy, we used their brewery when it was closed. It was like Tuesdays are not normally open. Mm-hmm. So again, a private event. Nice. We'd make sure that they were getting taken care of, and that was really cool, because as long as we were taking care of the business, like we were getting sponsorship to like cover the beer.
Cover that.
And that's really where we started seeing a value proposition of where in the world can you go to get in front of owner operators that you're trying to sell a solution to, right? So, shout out to like Arroyo. They came through very early on, and they're like, guys, we would love to get in front of you to talk about our solution. Like, can we buy you beer? And I was like, sure. Like, hey guys,
that's cool.
Next Tuesday, like Arroyo's coming through. Let's all meet up, and like I'll put a quick Instagram post out there, and lo and behold, like 100 people show up, including like Keek the Sneak. I was like, oh shit!
Oh, shout out to Keek the Sneak, bro.
Yeah.
Sacramento, man.
Yeah, man, and that's the thing. Like, you don't know who's gonna pull up on the Connect, and you're rubbing shoulders with owner operators, legends in the game, and respectfully, like I want to learn about the things that I don't know about. That's why I love moderating the panels, because I don't mind questions. I know what I don't know, so I want to be able to surround myself with people that do know more than me. 100%. And but going back to your initial question, Kevin also hosts us at his place now, right? So we had a really cool run with Big Sexy. Unfortunately, that did come to an end. We had a small stint with Legacy Farms, so shout out to Tyler and Brian and the team over there, because we did have a really cool run over there. But for another reason, we had to move out, and Kevin opened his doors to us.
Nice.
That was that was a blessing. And again, Kev, I don't know how else to say this, man. Like, really appreciate you. Like, he's been such a foundational member of the Connect community, and it was him that pushed me to really like get back into this thing, because when I was president of Compound Genetics, I didn't have much time to come up and do these things monthly.
Right.
I was very busy, and that was the thing that Kevin was like, dude, like, you got to get back on track. Like, we can't lose momentum. And so trying to make sure that I did have the time and the bandwidth to make the event happen, it was tough. But, again, there was a lot of reasons that led to where we're at today, to really make sure that I knew I had to dedicate more time to the Connect. And ultimately, it's the community that I feed off of. I have so much fulfillment after these events. You know, it takes me about 2-3 days to like really come off the high of an event, because you know
it's a lot. Yeah.
event management is a lot, guys. And if you don't surround yourself with good people that you guys can trust and rely on and execute with, you don't have shit.
Hell yeah.
Like that's the realest thing I can say, is that it's very hard to trust people. You have my trust until you don't.
Yeah.
That is the way I've lived my life. And you know, growing up in a Mexican household, like my father, one thing that he always says is, don't trust anybody. Every day, every time I leave, you know, where he's at, he's like, I love you, mijo, don't trust anybody. Like, damn,
That's real.
That's
real.
That's a fucking perspective. But, you know, realizing that he came from, you know, Mezcala, Jalisco. And so he, practically third world country. There's no running power. There's no running water out there. Yeah. So he saw some shit growing up. You know, when he migrated over to Mexico, when he was like, you know, 12 or 13 years old, like he had experienced a lot at that age, you know, because he only he went to school until second grade, you know, and then he had to help support the family, you know, one of 9 children. And, you know, that was a big reason why my perspective is what it is today. I'm the product of perfect parenting. I love my parents. They're so foundational in why I'm here today and what I'm doing.
R&D, right?
R&D, baby.
Hell yeah.
I
met them.
Are they supportive of what you do? Because you know how some like old school traditional Mexican parents are like, oh, stay away from that stuff. Like,
Doggy, I can't stress it enough. They are the most supportive people in my life.
They're at the events, man. I met them there before, and they're great people, man. They
talk about how like they were even your like first employees. They helped you start up with Cultivated.
Yep.
Yeah,
man, that's
really cool. Right there.
So we opened Cultivated on our first clone batch was available for sale January of 2020, and so it was Christmas Eve on December of 2019, and my dad, it was the first round of cuts. My dad was in there chopping up plants with me. It was pretty amazing. I'll show you guys a picture afterwards, man. Like it was a special moment. It was a dream.
That's cool.
But you know, like I have a lot of gratitude, because you know, you can feel the pressure from family, from loved ones that are like, what are you doing that for? Yeah. Like, why? This is such a big risk. You have something like, I came from a very comfortable and aspirational background. Like I'd owned real estate since I was 22 years old. I had a very cool job in the hospitality world that I was doing for 10 years. I actually left on the top part of the pinnacle. In my eyes, I was achieving at the highest degree in that role in the organization for what I was doing.
Damn.
So like for me to be able to be building this business and seeing what my potential was, because this kind of goes back to design. You're like, do you do that on your own? I just stopped there for a second. I'm like, well, yeah, like what don't I do on my own that I haven't tried to figure out yet? I'm like, fuck, dude, that's the reality of cannabis, right? You got to figure shit out.
100%.
And that's why I love the Connect so much, is like, I just want to share the resources that I've been blessed with.
Yeah.
And again, like this is something that is way bigger than me. It's way bigger than anybody that is part of the Connect. But we do have some foundational people like Gina and Anthony, like really foundational people that are really putting their time and effort into making sure that we have these events go down. There's so much pre-planning, production, organization, discussions. Like like we're on the phone, you know, like super late. Like again, we're all working throughout the day, and then, you know, we'll hop on the call at like 9-10 o'clock to like go through prep lists. Like we just had this Connect this past Tuesday. Yeah. We have another one next Friday. So this is a really tight window. And, you know, shout out to Jimmy Devine, dude. Like we love and support Jimmy and all the Trans Bay events that he does. So I wanted to make sure that we did have an event scheduled that same weekend for Cinco de Mayo. So if you guys are going to be down in LA, you should definitely go down to Jimmy's event at the Trans Bay Challenge, which again, like there's so many cool people in this industry that believe in bringing people together. And Jimmy's one of those. Okay. You know, if you've been around Jimmy, he has a very contagious laugh, because he's a warm soul.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy's
He writes for High Times, correct?
Yeah, Jimmy's High Times, LA Weekly.
Yeah. John Capetta's camp and stuff.
Yeah, man. Like they're like John and Jimmy are, and you know, they're all amazing people.
Heck yeah.
Right? Like they're part of the community. They're the culture. Like it's really cool. So yeah. So anytime that there are those events, we want to support them, which is why we're doing the Connect next weekend, which is the Friday, May 3rd, and Cinco de Mayo is that Sunday. So I'm like, yo, if everyone's already gonna be in town, hey, let's do a battle royale because we've been waiting for the gas battle profile.
Bring it back.
That's what I'm saying.
Bring
man.
it back.
We've been waiting.
That's actually
Tired of candy.
so one of our main topics we've got into in the last episodes is the candy. How do you feel about the candy? Where do you think it's at right now in the industry? And I know we got a bunch of jars of it right here in front of us right here, but how do you personally feel about the candy wave?
Can't fight it.
I told you
You ain't
guys.
got candy throwing right now,
Hell
man.
yeah.
You ain't.
The people want what they want, bro.
Yeah,
100%.
Who are we to say don't smoke or you don't want that? Like, just
Yeah.
give them what they want. Now let's emphasize. Obviously, like, there's plenty of seed makers out there.
Yeah.
Plenty of seed, and I appreciate a lot of the crosses that do come across, and where the aroma translates to flavor, and it's again, there's a ton of great seed makers.
Yeah.
Very few people are breeding though, and again, like there's a lot of really cool selections that have been made. And that's again like why we're using the Battle Royale as a platform to showcase something like the LCG, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, if you're not growing a candy to some degree, it's like, well, you're missing out on some points, right? I think that's how we can really emphasize a lot of the people. And shout out to Elite Workshop who won the Battle Royale. They took first place out of all 19 contenders, and I'm not sure if you guys saw the list of contenders in there yet.
Heavy hitters.
Some heavy hitters, man, and they don't have a brand in retail. They don't have. They didn't even have a social media profile.
Yeah.
So like that night, this is wild. I got to tell this story. So Tuesday morning of the Connect, it was like 11 a.m. and we're Gina, Anthony, and I were in the in the lounge just filling up all the jars and like preparing everything, and Vincent from Indoor Sun brings Eric over. Eric Burnett, director the director of operations with Elite Workshop. He brings him into the room. He says, "What are you guys doing?" Like, shh, this is the Battle Royale. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's a flower competition where the contenders are the judges, right? This isn't a competition for the flex. This is really about celebrating the cultivators that are putting in the work to try to bring out the best genetic potential of the quality of the profile. Yeah. So Eric's like, "Oh, cool. Is it too late to enter?" I'm like, dude, we're literally jarring everything up right now. Can you bring it over in the next half hour? He's back in 10 minutes with his entry.
That's
He's like,
right.
All right, cool.
Damn.
He's about it, man. So anyways, he ended up sweeping in all three categories of aroma, taste, and smoothness.
Nice.
Swept.
Nice.
Checked all the boxes. I mean,
And
the
what
top
sample
three.
is that?
That jar is empty, my friend.
For a good reason.
That good.
Hell yeah.
So anyways, yeah, man, like it was, again, I have so much love and respect for every single one of these contenders in here because you can open up any one of these jars.
Oh, yeah.
Any one of them could have
They're all
won.
fire.
They're fucking
100%.
fire.
Yeah.
Straight up. And again, that's why like I don't take the Battle Royale Championship too seriously because it's all about what you see during the battle, right? Because what I said earlier, right? The contenders are the judges, right? I want people to judge and learn from each other. And that's what's happening when you put them in a comfortable room and you're actually saying, "Oh my goodness, like look at this. This is like check out this LCG.
Yeah.
How'd you get that structure and that quality?" And then the tech sharing is really where I'm like, yes, that's what this is about. It's the informational sharing. It's the leveling up of each other. That's what we're doing. This isn't about a fucking title.
100%.
I do want this thing to actually like we will be having a year-end global battle royale in Las Vegas during MJ BizCon.
Oh, what?
So where
Okay.
all the
pull up.
championship winners will be invited to contend in there, and we're gonna have different profiles like candy. We'll have the gas, and we'll see what else. And I do want to do a small batch, which is a non-commercial battle royale. That's also I don't have the pack with
We're
me.
going to get
but
up in that.
shout out to Good Greens because we did a collaboration with Masonic. So we took Masonic's Black Lime Reserve and we hit that with the Rainbow Belts 3.0, which Residential OG hunted and selected a male from.
Archive gear.
That's the black belts.
Wow.
So the black belts, if you got your hands on any of those beans, we will be doing a battle royale for the small batch community.
That's
so,
solid.
I kind of dropped that a few months ago, but like it's happening. So just I want to keep reiterating that.
Heck yeah.
Now,
How many events do you guys have per year?
Shit, man, we're going monthly right now.
Monthly? Like
Yeah.
They're
that's-
ramping up,
at least
man.
12.
I mean, bro, it's been. That's the thing. Like we've been doing monthly since fucking 2021.
Yeah.
Like
Does it
people don't realize.
Does it seem
this.
like it's getting bigger and bigger every time you throw one?
every time, dog? That's
Yeah.
why like
RSVP.
we're about
Yeah,
to.
for sure.
Well, this back to the business perspective. We want to be organized, and that's why you have to invest into tools to keep organization. right? You have to think about the business perspective from the supplier. Why are they sponsoring a booth? Why are they sponsoring the drinks? Why are they investing money into this community if they're not getting anything organized in return? My goal is to be able to get everybody in front in one community, yes, one event, and now you actually have a purpose of being there, right? You can't just come and sponsor a table if you don't have a validation from a cultivator. So for all you suppliers out there listening, like, how do you get involved with the Connect? Well, you got to know a cultivator that actually believes in your product, that is willing to vouch for you. Like, straight up. That's why this is not a...
No mids.
You gotta be somebody.
This isn't a pay to play. Like, this is really about, we just want authenticity around us. Nobody wants to get sold anything. You don't like getting fucking pushed to a product.
Yeah.
I want to know from you, because you tried it already. You're like, hey dog, this shit worked. Like, try it out. And that's why we have a collaboration with Grow World. Grow World is the global platform for B2B commercial validation trials, right? So if you want to try something, that is in the commercial trial, like, I'm not talking like a bag or a substrate. I'm talking like a room or like a trial of a bench, so you can really get an R&D test going on. That's why Grow World exists, right? You get onto the platform, you register. It takes like a minute to register, and like give them your cultivator profile. What type of lights, total square footage, bench spacing, what kind of substrate to use, all the stuff that you need to know as we start to build out these campaigns of like, hey, here's a new solution, like under canopy lighting, for example.
Oh yeah.
Perfect example of like people that are like, yo, I need to know, but I don't want to invest into this unless it works. Cool, sign up for a trial. Faven is on Grow World, and that's why it's such a cool synergy between the Connect and Grow World, because the Connect is educational networking, really top of funnel marketing, right? How do you market something? Well, because we're using it. We're fucking cultivating with it. This is an actual solution that we don't have to talk about sales. It's just, hey, if it works, try it, you buy it. If it doesn't work, no sweat. It was just a trial. Yeah. And, again, that's why the Connect is getting so much traction right now. We're in this like peak. And, when I mentioned, I left my former role with Compound in June of last year, because I realized that there was a lot of different things that I wanted to, make sure that I can reallocate my time and focus to that needed my attention. And not only cultivated, but the Connect. The Connect was something that, again, going back to Kevin, he's like, dude, we got to get back on track. Like, we're losing momentum. The industry needs this. The community needs this. I'm like, fuck, dude, you're right. Well, let me do this. Like, let me make some serious decisions and changes. And I did. And, that was last June. And it's just been a hockey stick from there. Like, the consistency, the turnout. I'm so humbled by everybody that shows up on a Tuesday night, like the supporting sponsors that are continuously investing into the Connect, because that helps everybody learn. I mean, that's the thing. It's just such a great platform for people to level up.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So let's say your sponsors or the people hosting the event, etc. Or let's say you, for example, are you seeing like payoff, and let's say the attention funneling back to your company, or let's say Arroyo was there, are they benefiting from that whole event? And so people are getting more awareness and whatnot. Do you see any benefit in that? Is it coming back to you?
Man. Like, that's why we're doing this. It's because we want to share the things that are working, right? Again, going back to what I said earlier, I don't want to sell. Nobody wants to sell anything. I don't sell anything. I fucking hate selling shit. Right. I just want to give solutions. That's why when you buy clones from me, it's like, dude, check the website. Yeah. Right? And I'm sorry if I come off disrespectful. It's all good. And when you
I'm
ask
in
a
this
question,
guy's DMs all the time, bro.
when you ask a question, I literally just send you the link.
100%.
Right? And like, scan your QR code on that hat that I just gave you. That's the, that inside band QR code goes right back to the website. Yeah. Because what's on there? The cultivar profile, the irrigation strategy for that cultivar, the COA, everything you need to know, pictures. And that's also why Arroyo is another company that I really appreciate their support with, because from a genetics perspective, I want to de-risk that genetic run with you. I want to be able to give you something and teach you how to grow it by using an irrigation strategy. You should know the stretch factor. You should know if it's a long veg or slow veg. You should know the key things to really get that best genetic potential off your first run.
Yep.
Exactly.
Guideline.
So this is in the works right now. So I'm working with Arroyo to be able to develop genetic recipes that can be deployed. So if you get clones from me, this is coming up very soon. Again, shout out to Good Greens, because we're using the genetics that we've hunted with Kush Alley to do this with. We're going to be able to actually deploy. We're going to be able to deploy the irrigation recipe through the Arroyo platform. So if you get a plant steak, you've seen my plant steaks before, you scan the QR code, boom, it takes you back to the website. Well, that's also going to include request irrigation recipe from Arroyo. So that's going to basically allow the user to say, hey, I want this irrigation recipe for their lip smackers number 4. Okay, cool. Now Arroyo deploys that to that user on their platform, and now they have a chart. They've got a guide where you just got to stay within that boundary to, you know, to replicate that run that we've used for R&D purposes to get it out there.
That's solid.
That's dope, bro.
Cool. So on that a little bit, can you explain for the people at home a little bit about these candies and just how finicky they are to steer and
100%. So going back to the seed making versus breeding, okay? There's been a lot of seeds made because we need to find the new wave of candies, right? And breeding and selecting takes years. It takes a lot of time, but obviously people are trying to survive and they're just giving the market what they want. Giving them what they want, right? Like there's a lot of great selections out there, but a lot of them are finicky because they didn't go through the full commercial validation process. 3 runs. Like you gotta stress test it, you gotta put it through some really uncomfortable positions, and then you gotta steer it, right? And that's really what we're doing with the whole process. And again, we're gonna be releasing some genetics from Good Greens in the very near future here that we are very proud of. Like these are just new age candies. Some of them wash, some of them are very productive, and again, it's just giving the market what they want.
Respond to bulking signals or cues.
Yeah, man, generative vegetative ripening. Like it's science. We're growing plants, yes, but when it comes back to candies, these are small bud trait type of structured plants that don't like to, they're pretty susceptible to a lot of pathogens, specifically because they haven't been really worked down the line from a breeding perspective.
100%.
And I'm not saying that's across the board. I'm just saying like most of these candies have a very challenging grow time, so that's again why we like to level up. And what we did during the LCG Battle Royale back in October was that we wanted to talk about small bud trait candies, right? Everybody that submitted their LCG, it turned out that there was 3 versions of LCG that were in that Battle Royale. So we use the DNA fingerprinting service from MyFlora DNA. Shout out to MyFlora because they got a really cool service tool that is essential. Like there's a lot of use cases for DNA fingerprinting. And I don't want to go too far off the tangent, but that is something that I believe is going to make us all better in the future because validity behind genetics and breeding and selections. It's like if I know that we can send in a fingerprint from dried flower. Like right now I can send in a fingerprint and they'll give you a fingerprint back. But what does this match to? Like nobody really knows. I know Phylos and the whole, phylogenetic tree, the galaxy, all that stuff. That's not what this is for. Yeah. Like cool, but this is really more about if we find a selection from that particular bag of seeds, and we know that Good Greens has both the parents. Now we can actually triangulate that validation. It's like yes, here's the mother, here's the father. We have leaf samples to get DNA fingerprints from there. Now we have the child and we fingerprint that, and now we have a triangle of validation. This you got to think for the future, man. Like that's why there's a lot of mistrust out there, or a lot of shitty situations where breeders don't get paid.
That brings another question to my head, just because I've gotten 10 different stories since the strain's been in the industry. What is the backstory to LCG, runts, all this stuff that is basically all dancing around the same campfire at this point? Well, what is if you can?
Yeah, well, I mean, Juan Quesada was on Good Pizza podcast not too long ago, and he was talking about their LCG selection was a G33 bag seed.
Really?
Straight up, man. Like and again, like a lot of the fingerprints that we've seen on, a lot of the LCGs or, runts crosses or anything in that candy world is very close to G33.
Really?
So what's that tell us about G33? Right? That was the original candy. Like a lot of the things that we start to talk about, and you start to look at all the different runs crosses and everything out there. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of variation out there, but again, like the LCG came from that G33 bag seed, according to Juan. And who am I to say that that's incorrect? Like that's the man. Like Juan found that shit. That's the thing that they're running.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm not big on trying to claim who has what, or I'm sorry, who did what. It's about who has what right now, so we know that moving forward we can actually go back and replicate this. Because again, I'm preaching from a place of consistency and quality. That's all I'm trying to do. Like, that's why I love cultivation. That's why I love genetics. I love data. I want to be able to rinse and repeat this because you got to think about your parents. You got to think about the people that don't know shit about genetics or even want to understand genetics. They just want it for medicine. To me, this all comes back to public health and safety. And going back to my parents for a moment, my dad, he was in a really bad car accident in like the late 90s. So he lives in chronic pain. His 5th and 6th vertebrae are fused. He had knee surgery. Like literally his leg like goes numb. He used to walk with the cane. He couldn't sleep at night. Got up 5-6 times throughout the night just to get like blood flow back and not be in pain until cannabis. You know, he no longer takes his painkillers of like 2,400 milligrams of Neurontin, all these muscle relaxers, all these antidepressants. He's off all that shit now. So I got him on a cannabis in 2020.
True medicine.
True medicine, man.
Oh, yeah.
He no longer walks with a cane. He could bend over. He can sleep at night.
Love to hear it.
Wow.
Dog, like these are the things that, again, it's my why. Like I see my dad and he's my why.
Yeah.
So again, when it comes back to
Shout out your
why
dad.
shout out to the supervisor.
Hell yeah.
So, ooh, I like that.
Soup.
That's cool.
But yeah, man, like again, it goes back to why I'm so passionate about genetics and how do we bring out the most genetic potential with that. It comes with data, you know, and being able to replicate that. You need control, you need environment, you need everything that you have from a consistency standpoint on your inputs.
Yeah. So back to that a little bit. The tissue culture process. Something like the 33, for instance. If it is the true 33, which I guess that's another question in itself. Even though these people are reverting it and bringing it back to tissue culture, cleaning it out, removing any pathogens and whatnot, is it always gonna like reset it? If that makes sense, like, or is it always? Is there any like instability, I guess, that can still come from the genetic, even though it's been taken back to the tissue culture process?
When you're talking about instability, like intersex traits, I believe that's more of a genetic marker than anything.
Okay.
Mutations.
Genetic
I guess more
mutations-
mutations, the finickiness of it.
Well, I'll put it this way: when you're talking, there's two types of tissue culture. There's nodal initiation, right, where you're just getting the plant down to the nodal site, and then that gets initiated. That's like a clean way to propagate, right? You're basically just surface scrubbing all the pests and pathogens off of the surface, but you're not going to get down into the DNA or RNA level. That's where you got to get down to the meristem, right? If you go into the meristem, now you're getting down into fully doing a cleaning and a restoration process, a reset, right? And the question was, does that create any sort of instability or any sort of weird mutations from that process?
I guess no. Is there still chance for, I guess, viroids to pop later down the road? Being hop latent is
Great
latent.
question. Great question.
Can stuff still come back? I guess even though it's been cleaned, if you will.
I love that question because I was actually talking to Chris Levitt about this about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Chris Levitt's the co-founder of Node Labs. Now he's founder of Voyager Genetics out in Portugal. So shout out to Chris. I've learned so much to Chris.
Shout out, Chris.
Yeah, man. Much love, dude. And yeah, this has been an ongoing conversation about the basically the retrovirus concept.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's in the genome of the plant, will it always be in the plant? And I think that is something that over time I believe that it is. From a propagation perspective,
Damn.
I've seen the viral load come out of fully clean, fully meristemmed plants over a period of time.
We're fucked.
And I'm not talking about, well, not necessarily. That's why I preach clean behaviors.
100%.
Right? That's why that's why I love the propagation space, and that's why I love being in this industry, is because it's all about clean practices. I came from the restaurant industry right out of high school, right? My first career was I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be in that kitchen chopping it up like Yan Can Cook and Emerald Lagasse. Like, I grew up, I was born in the 80s. I grew up as a 90s kid, so I was always watching PBS. You know, like Yan Can Cook and Emerald were the only cooking shows on there. And growing up in a Mexicano household, like we always cooked. That's what I loved. And again, it was bonding, right? What are we doing with this right now? We're bonding over this. Alcohol, food, music, cannabis. This is all bonding for us. At the end of the day, man, it's really special because I do go back to those sanitation behaviors and practices. It's like, you're gonna touch a piece of raw chicken and then, eat something with your hands without washing them.
Yeah.
Cross-contamination. So when you think about pathogens, you think about cross-contamination from that same perspective. So when you're touching a plant, Same thing. If you get plant juice on your fingers and you go touch another plant, you just basically inoculated that plant with whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's especially with dirty shears, vector transmission.
Yep.
So clean your shears. Everyone write this down. This is the sanitation protocol. 30 to 60 seconds of soak and agitation for 30 to 60 seconds in a 15 to 20% bleach solution. Okay.
Yep.
And everyone can get bleach and let that shit rock for 30 to 60 seconds. Get a dish brush, scrub it.
Yeah.
Right. Go back in, and I like to use one of those like a long sandwich pan so that you can fully submerge the shear handle, not just the tips. I see people just dunking the tips in their cup. I'm like, what do you think your hands are touching?
Yeah.
Like literally put that shit fully in there, get the brush and scrub them. It takes time. So if you go into Cultivated, you'll see on the sanitation station, we have little timers. They're little 30-second timers. Just go. Just have a good time with it. But honestly, it's a process. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So just knowing that a lot of the cross-contamination just comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of leadership at that point. Attitude reflects leadership. If I'm walking into a farm, I'm respectful. I know that I don't go from one farm to the next farm if I've already been to another farm.
Yeah.
That's just what I do. Or if I do, I know that I have a change of clothes.
Yeah.
Right? It's just cultural practices.
Yep.
So when I do work with farms, because I also have a consulting business, which is called Validated Curations, and crop management and data analytics and SOP implementation. Shout out to Mo Korshid and Joe Semino. Like these guys are the goats, and
Shout out Mo.
yes sir, yeah bro. Like what we do is we help farms that are doing a very good job already, and we want to get them above that to that next level, right? To really start hitting those quality goals with yield attached to it. And again, it comes back to implementation. So culturally, if you don't have the right people in place, that's why I'm so big on leadership training for your staff. Like you got to have an understanding of what your team wants to do. Why are they even there? Are they happy doing what they're currently doing? What is their succession plan? I don't hear this word enough in the industry, succession plan. Why do you have somebody on your team if you don't know what their goal is? Ask them, seriously, like make sure that you make time for everybody on your team once a quarter. Once a quarter should be the goal. To literally just ask a question, how are you?
That's real.
What do you want to do?
That's real. No, straight up.
So life is too short, man. Like I recently lost a homie that, I grew up with, 39 years
Sorry to
old.
hear that.
Colon cancer took him out in a year.
Yeah.
Like two
Sorry.
kids. Rest in peace, homie. But life's too short.
100%.
It's too short to be sad and being in a toxic environment. And again, like cannabis is tough. Like there's a lot of people in this
cutthroat.
industry.
Oh, yeah.
It's
A lot of
fucking cutthroat,
competition.
man.
No, for real,
Yeah.
you're setting the blueprint for everyone in cultivation space, man.
Thanks, man.
It's real, and I respect everything you do. The Connect event, you're basically an open book. I'm texting you all the time with questions on the most nuanced things, and I always get a response. So I've always valued you, man. So
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
man.
that.
I greatly appreciate that. I'm humbled to hear that. I'm just living. I'm just going through my life. Tomorrow's not promised, so I love to find happiness in every day. Having gratitude for the gift of work is something that I cherish.
Yeah.
I've had manual labor jobs. I'm sure we all have here. Sitting at this table in this room, we've all done manual labor, and it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I want to be able to use, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Some people enjoy that because they know that when the work's done, the work is done. You can check out mentally. You
Yeah.
can go play, you can go play cornhole. You can go do whatever you want. You can be with your family. I don't have that in me. I have something else that I don't think I'd be here if I didn't, because, my wife has been extremely supportive of this to her own degree because she's been very patient with me throughout this whole process.
That's important too.
Yeah, man. I don't have children. I've got a dog. He's a 13-year-old blue nose pitty that I rescued from the shelter, and Roscoe he's coming up on his his last years, and I'm blessed to have him in my life because it's a constant reminder of unconditional love, and just a big part of life should be about smiling every day. That dog makes me smile every day, and when I do, I love my wife so much because she's super patient with me when I actually have the chance to be home, when I'm not traveling around, and just actually disconnected from, from whatever it is. And we have a good time. We'll go out and eat dinner. We'll go, do little excursions and stuff like that. But she sees what I'm doing right now. Like I'm building, and it takes a
Grinding.
lot, man.
Yeah.
Like this life is not for everybody. It takes work. It takes commitment. It takes a lot of humility. Like it 100% is.
Did you think you were gonna get as big as you are in the cannabis industry when you first stepped into it?
I'm not big, dog.
You don't consider yourself
dude,
big?
no,
Like,
I'm honestly just myself. People, like, when I first started doing what I was doing, people thought I was full of shit, and that was okay. Like I don't have to prove anything. I'm not here
You know your truth.
trying to claim that I was.
You're
fucking
just
coming from the
genuinely doing
hills.
it just to be genuine, just because you have a love for the
I'm
culture.
I mean, people call me a self-recognizing people pleaser. This was recently said to me, and I sat back. I'm like, holy shit, is that bad? Like, I don't know. Like
To reevaluate yourself. real
for
quick?
me, man, I enjoy people. Like I like to help. I get so much fulfillment off of the thank you, and that's also why I love being in the genetics and the nursery space too, is because seeing the harvest. When you sent me those glitter bomb pics, dude.
Oh yeah,
Whoa, dude,
crazy.
Fuck,
Some of the
frosted
fattest
out.
buds I've ever seen, dude.
Chunky, dog. Like you
That
hit
was a good
your
one.
bulking stage like perfectly on that one.
Yes, sir.
Like again, with small bud trait candies, you got to start bulking early at like day 14, 15.
Yeah.
You should go from gen right into bulking and go all the
100%.
way through week 6,
Yeah.
right? So you get your last 2 weeks of generative ripening, but you hit it perfectly, man. Like that was beautiful structure, excellent leaf to calyx ratio, and dude, the trichome density on the glitter bomb itself is fucking ridiculous. So
Oh yeah. Appreciate
excellent
that, man.
job on that.
Thank
It was
you,
a really nice
brother.
run.
Thank you.
But sorry, I kind of lost track of my my thought there, but kind of just going into that.
I got a weird random one.
Sure.
Kind of back on like the viroid and/or pathology. It's something that I've seen in the garden recently. Have you ever seen? And I've seen the viroid in several stages. I've seen multiple like expressions.
Yeah.
I've seen runts. I've seen all types of stuff. Have you ever seen a flower go into flip week 5, week 6, deep flower, and then just still being vegetative, no pistils, no nothing, nothing, and a whole lot will still be fine, but then there's just an outlier that just
The viral load on that plant is much greater, and again, you got to look at what actually triggers the viroid.
So with testing that's coming back negative though of no HLV, what is that?
What part of the plant did you test?
Everything.
Damn.
Dude,
So you think that's viroid though, as far as?
I mean, if you're saying it's isolated to that one plant, I mean,
No, we had several. We like
you had several in there.
I took leaf samples. I took the tops, mids, bottoms, and I took root samples as
Okay.
well.
And it came back.
no viral load. We're waiting on pathology right now,
Sure.
but
Well, let's
I have
explore.
never seen it in my
My
life.
curiosity is let's find out together so we can level each other up and let's talk about it. You guys can bring this up on your next episode or put some IG story out there. Be like, hey, Serge, we found out. Like, okay, cool. Now we can
Yeah,
all
100%.
share that knowledge. That's that's the beauty of the Connect. I'm gonna give Nelson Lindsay a quick shout out on this because the poetry of plants.
Yeah.
Nelson
He's solid cat.
called out a really bizarre ferning issue, right? The plants were just
Oh, from the Grodan and the rock wool.
not calling out brands. I'm just saying like it's a specific issue happening within the substrate,
Name dropping.
right? And so when
Are you talking about the leaf, the weird?
you saw the weird
like the
it
serrated
looked like
leaves?
it looked like the freak show type of leaf expression.
Yes, sir.
right?
We've also seen that.
So, and again, like I'm
No
not
name
saying
drop,
it was brand
sorry.
specific. No, it's okay. Like this can happen to any stone wool manufacturer.
Yeah.
Rock wool manufacturing processes. But again, when I saw that happening, I'm like, oh shoot, this is actually in one of my farms too. Now I see a correlation.
Yeah.
So I instantly called Sam with Arvum Plant Labs, right? Shout out to Arvum, Rapid Analytics. You can get a whole leaf tissue analysis done within 2 days for $75, and you have a full fucking panel.
Damn.
It's dope, and their digital platform is really cool too.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm like, hey Sam, have you seen what's going on with this? He's like, yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't really tested. I'm like, well, I'm gonna link you with Nelson. Let's see if we can do, just do something. And I was blown away with what happened. I didn't ask Sam or Nelson probably didn't ask Sam to say, hey, we want free samples to do this. Arvum literally just went out to the community and said, if you guys are experiencing this, we'll send you a kit for free. We
Yeah.
want to understand what's going on.
100%.
And so we posted that shit. It came back to the Connect and it went out. And ultimately, we found the results where it was a toxicity of aluminum.
Like a wedding agent, right?
I'm not sure if it came from the wedding agent or what, but it was identified. It was just this increased amount of aluminum in the
shit.
stone wool.
Aren't metals used
Wow.
to make waffle? Would that be a prostrate from
I
that?
mean, it looks like it.
Yeah,
Stone
Those
wool
little
manufacturing.
strands.
I've been finding like little balls of like iron. I don't know if it's like aluminum.
It's a great question, but
It does look like some sort of metal.
could be, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not a manufacturer of that, but I mean, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, it was the power of the information sharing. And like, again, like back in the day, if you had a problem, you didn't want to tell anybody. You're
Yeah.
embarrassed. Like,
Yeah.
you know, real talk, you didn't want to say that you had a problem because people would think less of you as a cultivator. Fuck that. I'm all
Yeah.
about sharing my challenges because I know
100%.
somebody's already been through it. And that's why I want to give back. That's why the big emphasis on just sharing and leveling each other up is the emphasis of what we're trying to accomplish.
So on my initial question, do you think that's viroid? Because it was, again, if you were to see the plant and if it looked like it was in veg, it was a healthy plant. It just literally didn't go into flower. Entire part of the plant.
Let's talk about stress events. Did you have any swings? Did you have any crazy lighting issues?
It's cultivation.
Did your pH
That ain't
spike at all?
perfect.
I'd say more environment than fertigation, but I mean, I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but
Are you measuring your runoff every day?
100%.
Okay. Now, you didn't see any weird pH issues?
No.
I don't know.
The
Let's-
room was honestly healthy. It's just we had weird outliers that like
Yeah.
didn't throw off
And this is
anything.
from internal propagation, right?
No.
These are outsourced clones.
Yes, sir.
Viral
Don't
load
want a name
happens,
drop,
man.
but
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, at the
nobody you're
nursery-
associated with,
at
I
the
can assure
Nursery
you.
Federation
You know
the
who
other
you
night,
are.
That's okay. Like, these are plants. They're gonna get sick. They're gonna.
Yeah.
We can't test every fucking leaf on that plant. We just have to have a rotation, right? Healthy mom stock rotation,
Yeah.
clean practices in place. So yeah, there could be viral load in that plant, and maybe it just happened to be on that one plant.
So the provider got back to me again. Nothing on viroid. They're waiting back on pathology, but I don't see it being anything related to that. He'd said that they seen this years ago when they first came up, and they think it might just be genetic. And at that point, I mean,
But it's a clone.
huh?
But it's a clone.
Elaborate.
Came from the same mother plant, right?
Yeah. 100%.
I honestly think that just some plants suck. Like,
Yeah.
just gotta kill it.
100%.
You know, I'm not a Captain Save-A-Ho. If I see an healthy
Get
plant,
out of here.
Yeah.
you know,
Chalk it up.
But like from a cultivator standpoint, if it's healthy in veg, if it's healthy from start to finish, and it just doesn't flower on you, like how?
studs out.
Yeah, I just
Could just be a crazy amount of viral load that happened to be on that one plant. You
Yeah.
know, again, parts of the plant have different levels of viral load.
100%.
So I don't know. Like, that's my curiosity now. Like, did you go do the full virus and viroid panel?
We went hard, yeah. Like he said, top, middle, roots, everything. We go
No
hard.
sclerosis, no any other virus that might have popped.
Do you have photo? I mean, we'll show you afterwards because
For sure.
I'm genuinely curious.
Video and photos of
They're healthy
I've
plants.
seen so many
If it was in
weird-
veg, it would look like a proper plant to cut from.
Yeah, of course.
It looked like a healthy veg plant, like for sure.
Of course.
While
Yeah.
everything else is week 6, full pistils, like developed and all.
And-
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
It's weird because all these are from tissue culture, meristem tissue culture.
Sure.
And then we don't top them and everything. And then, we see this later on. And it's like, what the hell, dude? So it makes you wonder, like, you think tissue culture is 100% guaranteed that it's going to be cleaning all the time? Or
Here's the thing. Guarantees are very difficult to stand behind.
Yeah.
I think you just have to be understanding that we're all learning right now.
Yeah.
We all have a certain process. We all have a certain value proposition. You pay for certain price points because you want to deal with certain people. And at the end of the day, we have to learn from it. And, guaranteeing something is very difficult. It's about how are you going to address the problem when it happens. It's not if it's not going to happen, it's when it happens. How do you address it? That's it.
Just test, right?
Intake protocol is something that we talked about during the Nursery Federation.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have an intake protocol when you're bringing in exterior genetics, you should write this down again. In addition to the sanitation protocols, you should have your quarantine period, right? You should be inspecting those plants for for pests, for pathogens. You should be doing a dunk of some sort.
Yep.
Micronized sulfur works great. We use sulfur on everything. 8 to 10 grams is like a really nice preventative. 15
I'm scared of
grams-
that number, but
8
we
to
we
10?
go a little lower.
Dude, I know people that
Well
spray their
bred.
plants at 30 grams a gallon.
Jeez.
And it's
Good Lord.
it's protocol.
Yeah.
30 grams a gallon, because really you're just trying to make sure that the viscosity is fine enough to where it coats the leaf.
Do you use a surfactant when you do it?
No, just Nope.
Damn.
Just micronized sulfur.
I started
right
to
into
use a
the water.
surfactant.
It
I felt like it
sticks well.
sticks a lot
Really
better,
good.
like really good.
But that also impedes on the transpiration rates. Right? Like, what are you trying to do with sulfur? Are you trying to eradicate, or are you trying to just prevent?
Yeah.
So, prevention, yeah. I mean, I think that you should probably go a little bit lighter on that one, but it's really about just that protocol. Like, how frequently are you spraying? Obviously, when you're in flower, don't go past day 10, day 14, because once bud sites start forming, no sulfur.
Yeah.
But that, like, going into veg, yeah, man, you should definitely be hitting those. With 10, 20, 30 grams even. Just depends on what you're trying to do.
How do you feel about chlorine dioxide and like some of
Love
these
it.
slow releases that
Love it.
people are starting to do and stuff?
100%, man. Like,
Hell
yes,
yeah.
be cautious. Like, read the directions. Make sure that
It
you
is slow
do-
release.
Yeah, exactly. You're not using the reset.
Yeah.
Chlorine
100%. This is
dioxide.
the G.
Seriously, like, make sure you read the directions.
100%.
But yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, airborne pathogens are a reality, especially at like this day right now. It's 2024. You got to think a lot of these farms just got built, 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
They're starting to like really build up some pretty heavy pathogens right now.
Yep.
It's time.
Yep.
Right. So each
It's
season,
gonna get worse.
when those air exchanges are happening during the winter time, then spring, and like you basically just inoculated your facility.
Yep.
So it's becoming more and more prevalent. I'm starting to see a lot more pathogenic outbreaks because the seasonality, and specifically because like just the time, like people don't really clean and reset their rooms.
Yeah.
So again, sorry, I got sidetracked, but going into a quarantine period for 24 to 48 hours, you should be scoping those plants, sacrifice a plant, really get underneath the microscope to make sure you're not dealing with any russets or broads or root aphids.
Yeah.
That shit will fucking ruin your farm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those are killers. Like some surface pests like thrips or fungus gnats, like whatever. That should be treated, no problem with the sulfur dunk and just biocontrol.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of biocontrol. So while you're doing your quarantine period, you should also be sending off leaf tissue samples.
Yep.
Right? There's labs out there that you can get a sample done for under $20, and you can get that result back within a day or two. So there's no reason why, if you're spending the next 14 to 16 weeks on this batch, you can't invest a couple bucks into getting some tests done.
Yep.
If you're a couple $100, whatever it is.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind, dude. Like, be responsible. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's still levels of professional immaturity because people are just looking at it's his fault. It's her fault. Nobody's saying, what could I have done differently? Well, that's why we're talking about protocols. Like, that's why the Nursery Federation panel the other night was near and dear to my heart. I've been waiting a long time to do that panel. So I want to continue to evolve what a protocol looks like and, best practices, right? You just mentioned a surfactant. Maybe that's something that we should be doing as a nursery to have an even finer application that'll transfer through that transplant moment, right? Because from clone and then going into your climatization process and then your transplant into do you guys go 4x4 by 2.5 and then stack that on a block or 1 gallon?
No. Rock wool straight into 1 gallon cocoa.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
So, there's that period. So within that period, I would much rather get a call from you saying, hey, dude, we got a hot hit on tray number 14. Be like, thank you. First off, thank you for calling me, because now we can go back and retest that plant. Because again, we can't test more than the 3 leaves. Because in the vial, right, you can only put a certain amount of buffer in there. Because if you try to stuff it with so many leaves in there, the lab is going to basically throw all that out. They can only test so much of the because the reagent and the buffer will actually only test so much of that plant material. So that's why they say three hole punches.
It's almost redundant if you go over that.
Well, like there won't be enough solution.
Yeah.
Like they literally can't process it because there's too much material in there.
Oh, because they're just putting it directly into that vial and then testing. Like,
Correct. They're gonna homogenize it. They're gonna do the
Yeah.
lab stuff, right? I can't
Yeah.
speak intelligently to it. I just got scolded one time when I sent a bunch of
send
vials.
less.
I say, well, yeah, like we test our moms once a month, so every 2 weeks we go evens, The other 2 weeks we go odds. So we're on a schedule. We know every single time our moms get tested.
Hell yeah.
But again, that came back to one of those moments. I'm like, oh shit, more is not better in this situation because it's preventing them from doing their job accurately.
Yeah.
So came back to one of those moments of like, okay, if we tested something and we missed it, well, now you just got the full tray. I would know I want to go back. And again, this goes back to protocols. We have every single mother plant has its own propagation kit, scissors, propagation bucket, clone cup.
I love it.
Nothing ever touches another plant ever.
Yes, sir.
So I know that we have, and we also change out those shears every single time we get a new batch of moms. So that 3 to 4 month cycle,
That's solid.
everything gets changed. It's responsibility, right? Like I've learned a lot of things in going back to like which cultivars or which genetic profiles actually do have more viral load.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of OGs and cookies have a much higher susceptibility, meaning you're going to get less amount of clones off that mom before the viral load will hit.
Sheesh.
I track everything, dude, and this is why I created my own ERP.
Yeah.
Like I worked cohesively with a software data analyst to build our own ERP so we can track the things that we needed.
Wait, so can you say that one more time? OG and cookie is more susceptible to a viral load?
Correct. Based off the data that I saw, whenever we test our moms monthly, right? So we saw that in the lifespan of that mother, we were getting, I don't know, anywhere between, 500 to 700 cuts per plant in that lifespan, right? We weren't deep water culture. We get high productivity in that system.
Yeah.
So when you have OGs and cookies, I was getting viral load hitting at like 400, 500 cuts in that lifespan. I'm like, that's not good. And it was consistent. And then compared to like the gelatos and everything else, everything was, around 700, but we don't keep anything past that point anyways, but that's typically where I saw the viral load expression was up to that 700 point.
Yeah.
So with OGs and cookies, it was much lower. And again, it was consistent. So that to me just tells me something about like the initial typhoid Mary coming from one, from that gene pool.
So wait, you guys have your own R&D spot where you can test all these things, basically like where you gather all this data to put on your, what you call it,
The ERP?
the ERP?
Well, we're only a nursery. We don't have a flowering facility.
So you got other people?
Yeah. So at Cultivated, we work with tissue culture lab partners that have done the validation process with those genetics.
Okay.
Right. But with Good Greens, like this is a perfect example of, we did this whole project in the past 2 years, and we've been hunting with Kush Alley, the crew down there with Danny, Nate, and Chad, and everybody down there at the Kush Alley team knows how to pheno hunt, right? Like this is really why I love working with competent cultivators, because we can go through that whole process of pheno hunting and tracking and validating. Like this isn't just the first run. Like we've made 3 runs happen, and we make those selections that actually go into cultivated. It took a lot. It took a lot to make sure that I'm releasing something that we're confident with. So when it comes back to testing how many different times or what that production of that mother's lifespan was, I'm a nerd, dude. I'm a spreadsheet junkie. Like one of my skill sets is data. I'm very crafty with data. And so I know that being able to read a report, my job is to create a story with that data. And that's why I built my own ERP, because I love getting a lot of information and then dashboarding it and being able to understand by looking at the data in a different light. That's how I came up to the determination is like, why did these plants not last as long as those plants? Well, let's dashboard it. Let's make the comparison. Let's run a Gantt chart on this and understand where that lifespan started to come
And
about.
now is your data coming from like different variables? Let's say you have like a perfect environment, you got a crappy environment, you got like a mids environment, different lighting.
Are we talking from a propagation mother stock standpoint or a flowering facility standpoint?
Well, I
It's
guess
both.
both, but your customers in this case would be flowering, so I guess flowering.
Well, I'm going to start with from the nursery side. Like we have one mom room, right? We have 8 individualized segments. Colton, you've been to Cultivated before,
sir.
right? So you've seen how all of our deep water culture buckets are segmented into 8 different segments, so we can make sure that we don't have any sort of, and if we do have a pathogenic outbreak, it doesn't scatter to every plant, right? So we make sure that is there. But that's one mom room, right? So we have, we've got a consistent climate in there. And so everything that we're taking the data from is coming from that mom room. So that's why we have a system of forms and just making it easy to capture data. So everything that gets tracked on every single propagation day comes from just an easy form. So all that daily information is tracked years of data. Now I can make I can make a legitimate decision based on what I'm starting to recognize from a trend.
Okay. So I was gonna say, so when you go to flowering now, how do you gather that data? Since you guys are nursery, so how do you?
Sure.
Let's say a grower comes to you and he's like, "Yo, bro, I'm doing light dep. I got HPS, blah blah blah." So how do you guys gather data to basically tailor to each one of your customers?
I love this question specifically because this comes back to I want to give a shout out to Node Labs, and when we first started Cultivated, we didn't have a breeding program, we didn't have a pheno hunting space. We just wanted to be the trusted nursery, right? So that's literally why I went all in, because I wanted to just build what I knew that would bring a solution to the table. That's why I sold my house, I sold my car, I liquidated my 401k to build out. We don't have investors. Like, this is why I'm so keen in on like what the solution is. So we had to work with tissue culture lab partners that had verified genetics. Through that validation process, though, you have to go through different stages. And what Node has done is really cool, right? You start off in a stress room, right? Like, their process was intentionally trying to herm that plant. Nice. So when you go through that room, if it survives that room and it still has good terp, goes to the next round. Now we're focusing on structure, right? Because again, whatever comes out of that room is not going to look pretty. You're not going to call the photographer and be like, "Hey, Josh, capture cannabis. Let's do this, bro. Yeah. Let me get you $800 real quick to come take a look at the stress plant." So it moves on to the next room. And at that point, we're looking for structure, right? So there's a little bit more climate controlled, but not the best type of room. It will have some challenges, but now you're getting to see the plant in in like a mediocre type of a grow, or an average grow is what we'll call it, right? So once it goes through that process and it didn't herm out or it didn't show like really weak stem, like we're looking for commercial viability, right? So as it goes through that stage, and it still has great terps, flavor over everything, right? Aroma, terps, flavor, everything. And of course, in the commercial space, we have to look at potency as well. So running with reputable labs, like being able to have a good R&D partner, so you can find that consistency across the numbers. Because from the retail sector, what sells. Sure. You've seen what sells. It's pretty
candy.
It's pretty challenging from knowing that there's so many awesome flavors that don't surpass 22%, and it's like, well, we can't put them in the bags or the jars because nobody's gonna buy it. And that is some of the most terpiest, my most experiential type of selections that it's a bummer that they can't get out there. But yeah, man.
That's one of my next questions. Where do you think the industry is going right now with just genetics? You think gas is coming back? You think best of both worlds? You think the candy's gonna stick for the next year? Where do you think that this is all gonna go?
I have my wish list, and then I have a reality check.
And then he's like, I have my realist list.
But that third, kind of finishing off that last question, was like the third and final phase of validation comes with the crop steered room. Oh yeah. Right. It's like, we know the genetic tendency of that plant, right? Is it generative or is it vegetative? Colton, can you tell me what a vegetative expression of that genetic tendency would be? Would it have a higher leaf to calyx ratio or a lower leaf to calyx ratio?
With vegetative?
Yes.
Higher, correct?
Correct. Yep. So it's going to be more leafy, right? So if we know that the genetic tendency on that plant is more leafy, I can build my irrigation strategy to be more generative, right? I want to tighten up those leaves to get a better structure. Now, if I want to bulk it out, I know that I don't have to do much because it's already going to be naturally vegetative. So this is how I build my irrigation recipes as I've seen the genetics go through the phenohunt process, right? And that's, again, why I look to certain farms that I love to hunt with. Some of them might have a little bit more of a challenging climate. Some of them are in a double stack LED perpetual harvest room. Some of them are in an HPS room. Some of them grow in Rockwool. Some of them grow in HP. You name it, I've seen it. That's why it's great to have variety. That's why I love the Connect. That's cool. Because we get to work with all the best cultivators in the world to hunt. And again, what's going to give you the edge is having the new candies, right? That's the Good Greens candy collection. So nobody really knows this is Good Greens' first launch into the marketplace as a genetics company, but we just we created stuff that the market wants. It's just commercially validated now. That's why I'm pumped that it's an exclusive through Cultivated. Can't wait for you guys to get your hands on this stuff too. Please. The Lip Smackers #4. That's the LCG Z animal cookies times Good Greens candy.
Oh my!
Ridiculous flavor
profiles.
Sounds
like mouth coating already.
Z forward, candy gas on the back, beautiful plant, and again, it got its name because the profile, it was mouth coating.
Yeah.
the residual sugar number 1, which is the glitter bomb times GGC. So everything you love about the glitter bomb without the floral terp, that's what this one is. Super fire. Same trichome density, same 3x stretch factor, same stem strength.
Flipper small and quick.
It's beautiful, man. She finishes at 8 weeks perfectly.
Oh,
no
my.
problem.
Wow.
And then you've got the Dragon Glass, which is the black runs times good greens candy. This is one of the most productive candies that I've seen. It's got big ass 3x stretch factor, huge bud sets, and again, for that type of a candy profile, unheard of. And she happens to wash too.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
you know, like there's a reason why these 3 selections made it to the nursery propagation stage, right? Because people trust what we put out, and that doesn't come very easily. Like, it's very hard to try to run new genetics. So if you ask me what is the irrigation strategy if I'm gonna, you know, mix light, but I'm running cocoa 1 gallons or running cocoa 3 gallons.
Yep.
First, I'm gonna ask you, why are you in a 3-gallon substrate? You know, we're gonna talk environment. I'm big on substrate, and this is really why I like to focus on environmental control first, because it all comes back to stratification. Why is your substrate not drying back? Yeah. It's environment. Like, tell me why your environment's so fucked up. Can you fix it, or is this just what you have to work with? Right. A lot of people just may not realize that you need 6 pints per plant per day to dehumidify a room. So if you can't hit that, maybe there's a couple reasons why. Do you not have enough power? Maybe. Did you not have enough investment to start off your build out to buy that enough dehumidifiers? Or are you just old school and you're like, this is the way I've been doing it. I run 16 plants, per light, and that's just the way I do it. Yeah. Well, like there's times have changed. Less plants equals more weight.
Damn. Say it a little louder.
For the kids in the back too, man. And it's all about proper light penetration. And again, this is why, shout out to Bobby Baggs, Tim, like, you inspire me because what you've done with the wave of under canopy lighting and, obviously the physics of, well, plants can't receive photons from underneath. It's like, all right, guys, we're talking about the buds. Like, we're talking about the flower themselves.
Yeah.
The bud sites receive photons, right? That's why you're starting to see all these beautiful, fully perked out plants with quality all the way down. Like, there's no more smalls in those plants that are really being dialed in properly with Favens. And, again, there's other under canopy lights out there, but I'm specifically working with Favens because this is what was available, and they supported the trial program. They believed in their product so much that they're like, yo, just try it. Tell us if it works. Cool.
I was gonna circle to the under canopy a little bit earlier, and then just especially with how candies are, they're a little more low yielding. Do you think that under canopies are a necessity at this point in this industry?
I know they are. From the multiple runs that we've seen running candies, right? Your 50 to 60 grams a square foot.
Yeah.
Good luck, man. Like,
Yeah.
we're pumping out 80 to 100 grams a square foot with these, with quality all the way down the packs. And that's conservative numbers. Like, if you're really doing it at scale with the, with the proper strategy of bumping up EC about 10% and creating more airflow down under canopy, right? Because what are you doing when you throw in another light source? You're creating more heat. You're creating more transpiration.
Yeah.
So you think your climate's going to stay the same down there?
No.
Hell no. So get more fucking fans through your benches. And ultimately, yes, you will see a better quality plant at the end of the day, which is why I say less plants is more yield, because you need more photons.
Yeah.
You need that airflow. And when you're pulling these, 1,400, 1,600 grams per plant on wet weight harvest day, you better believe that there's flower all the way down those plants.
Actually, kind of a personal question. Have you seen any success with under canopy in veg as far as just increasing
Oh man, I'm so
cuts
glad.
and like, because we're in a double stack veg, just to emphasize.
I
I have X amount of space to work with our moms.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was at Indoor Sun today.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of a power constraint because I wanted to run under canopies on our moms.
Yeah.
For that exact reason.
Heck yeah.
And Kevin's like, well, I got these 80 watt Favens. We did them for R&D for flower, like that extra that 80 watt versus the 120. It made a big difference.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're not gonna run these. Like, do you want to try them? I'm like, yes.
Sign me
Because
up.
I believe that with again, from a propagation standpoint, I want to have a lighting recipe for my moms. So pre-cut, I want more vegetative growth, which means more blue light. And then post-cut, I want more regeneration, bud site, a generative stress signal, so I want more red light. So I want to be able to add and supplement that under canopy light with the top light. So this is where we're working with Science Lighting, which Bruce Bugby is working with the team at Science. Yes, sir. You know what I'm talking about, bro. This is like Bruce's,
He's the GOAT.
Bruce is the GOAT of lighting. So that's why when Liam Spencer at Science Lighting was asking me, you know, if I know anybody in the lighting market, and I'm like, actually, I am. Like, I want to see what's going on with the, you know, with spectrum tuning in my mom's. And again, dude, we live in R&D. You asked earlier if I have an R&D facility. Dog, we live in R&D. We just have to be able to control it. So micro changes for macro results. I want to make sure that what I change is on a small scale before I do it to everything.
Yep.
You got to test. You got to track. You got to have data management. So from the going back to the question around the genetics, like where do I see the genetics going? I didn't kick that question down the road. I had to preface it with what we just talked about because there are new strategies with tech, and under canopy lighting is one of them.
Okay.
So understanding that you really need to focus on what that what that plant needs, specifically because now we're talking about strategic deleafing, right? You don't need a lollipop anymore. You want those bud sites down below. I just want to remove some of those fan leaves that are blocking the light from getting on those bud sites, right? So you're saving on labor costs, you're increasing your yield all the way down, and again, you're letting the plant do what it needs to do. So because every time you deleaf, you're sending a vegetative signal. You're telling it to stop growing and to send a vegetative signal to regrow.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why it's like that day 21 and day 42 defoliation.
Yeah.
Like you're telling that plant, hold up.
100%.
So anyways, where I see the genetics going is, you know, right now we just got to feed the market, right? Give them what they want. People are clearly struggling to keep their doors open. So rather than fighting it, give them something that they can run with. And, you know, obviously the market's going to dictate what is deemed good or bad. But at the same time, we know what they want. And if it's candies, well, we've got 19 different farms sitting on this table right now.
Check some of these
that
out.
that any, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like, we want to be able to showcase the love and passion and the work from all these cultivators. Like, Sacramento is fucking stacked.
Oh, yeah.
We are stacked with cultivators. And that's why I'm super pumped about doing these battle royales too, because I want to see the market continue to evolve the candies, right? Candies with a twist. That's what the Good Greens Candy Collection is all about, and really emphasizing the commercial viability of these candies, so we can help people be in a position to get, you know, A, better quality, and B, bigger yields with those. So, and that comes with strategy.
I know you had mentioned you had some other stuff you're pheno hunting. What do you got going on in that box over there?
So we're so actually that's from Oakland Seed Co.
Okay.
So Alan, he just did a massive pheno hunt with the White Runs times LCG. And Alan,
it's like an S1 almost, or
almost, man. So a lot of cool jars in there that I saw on Instagram. So he blessed me with that box on at the day of the Connect. So yeah, I honestly haven't even cracked into it, but I can imagine there's some fucking fire in there.
100%.
So, and again, Alan's making selections for what we're talking about: commercial viability, stability, and again, just feeding the market what they want. So I can't wait to dig through those, because I want to do a collab with Alan, bring in some of those genetics, do it as a co-branded, you know, Oakland Seed Co., powered by Cultivated, like just the way I've dreamt of doing this. You know, like that's the vision of the nursery, is so we can collab with people. You know, I was talking to, you know, Josh over at Nimbus. You know, he's got the Nimbus snacks. I'm like, oh shit, you guys bred that? He's like, yeah, man. You know, high osamine. I love that. Like, that's a really cool terp. I didn't realize that they won the state fair competition last year, and for the highest osamine terp. I was like, damn, okay. Anyways, having a nursery is really cool, because it's a platform for collaboration. And during the panel discussion with the Nursery Federation the other night, we did talk about, you know, where's the market going in terms of genetics. Genetic diversity is very challenging if you don't have a lot of space. I don't have a lot of mom room space, but I can do a couple plants here and there. Again, my plants are high volume, so if we did want to have a propagation agreement, it's like, yo, if I'm dedicating space for that cultivar, like a sativa, right? Something that there's minimal demand. There's not like minimal, but you got to have a well-balanced menu if you're in the retail space.
10-weeker.
Yeah, right. So you really want to be able to find who your client is. Yeah. So again, from my perspective, I see the market going into more of a generalized profile in the future, right? Just like any traditional crop. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I'm excited for that to happen, because that's going to amplify the craft growers, right? The genetic diversity that, there's some really cool genetics out there that we just don't see anymore because it's got to be this. So otherwise you're not paying your bills.
Yeah.
But, from a retailer perspective, that's why working with Your Highness has been super great. Like, shout out to Sean, Becky, Jason, Mandy, and Joe, because like we got a powerhouse team. Like we've all put our resources together, and again, we're doing something really cool on the branding side. Like they've already done the brand. I'm just along for the ride to see how I can help contribute to put the brand into cool places to succeed, and working with cultivation partnerships and doing all sorts of the business execution side of the stuff. But again, like I'm blown away with what they've built from the brand side. And that's really cool to see because now we start to play into the genetic space and to be able to introduce and educate at the bud tender level, right? Because that's what's fun about doing these activations. I've done a ton of activations in the past, 6 months. And that's one thing that I love doing is educating. It's like, what kind of flavor profile do you like? Do you like gas or do you like candy? Well, smell this one. Check this out. This is the syrup. It's got a real sweet candy profile. Really nice indica hybrid, but it's more for me. It's more social, so I like to use this one out in parties. Or if it's more gassy, to me, that's gonna hit me. That's gonna hit me a little bit harder. I'm probably gonna smoke that before bed to turn my brain off. So try the skunk set. But that's a big piece around what is the experience that you're trying to give to that consumer, and how do you educate your mom? How do you educate somebody that doesn't know that LCG is the the dominant force right now in the market? But it's really about just giving that basic understanding of what people want, because it will be commercialized to the degree of like 7-Eleven. You're gonna go in, you're gonna buy whatever experience you're looking for, but again, it's gonna amplify the craft growers and the craft geneticists that still continue to be on the hunt for cool flavors.
So when the floodgates open and this does go federal, do you think the small guys are gonna still be able to compete?
Depends on if you're talking about compression with business acquisition or if you're talking about compression where it's just going to push people out. Yeah. So brand over everything right now, man. You got to have your shit together.
Yeah.
You got to, like, if you think that trapping and not paying your taxes and just doing things to get by right now, when you actually look at it from a business, you really got to make sure that you're capturing all your expenses, right? You got to show a P&L. You got to have a dedicated P&L, right? And that's not easy. Like, we get charged constructively. Like, our tax rates are stupid. They're like
insane,
40 to 50%, because you can't deduct any operating expenses. It's only cost of goods that you can deduct. So I really feel like you got to make sure that you're running your legitimate business. Yes, we happen to be in cultivation and cannabis, but it doesn't matter. You got to be responsible, because when that floodgate does open up, there's going to be a lot of mergers and acquisitions. The brands that actually have something that they can show on paper, it's like, yeah, we've done this. We know that it costs this much to operate the business. Well, that's what it's going to come back to, is you got to be able to have a legitimate P&L and be able to track your expenses and really showcase that I can be profitable if, right? That's what the market's going to ask for, is like, show me if you can be profitable. Can you actually manage your P&L? Can you actually manage your business? Because this is telling me you cannot. If you're not able to show any sort of costs, if you're not able to show any deductions, you can't really show anybody that you have a meaningful business to even acquire. So, I mean, this is all shit. Like, I didn't go to college. Like, this wasn't something that I went to go to school to study. I just had to learn the hard way. Yeah. And I think that's where we're at right now as cannabis entrepreneurs, is we're just learning shit throughout the process. Yeah. And again, you got to surround yourself with the right people. Who are you listening to? Yeah. Why are you listening to them? Audit your inner circle, dog. Like, if you have bad intention or bad energy around you, step back and realize that may not be the right person for your life.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm fortunate enough to have some really cool mentors, some really cool people around me that I learned a lot from. So
appreciate all the game you've given in this episode, man. Like, you filled us with so much knowledge and just so much insight on plenty of topics. So I thank you for everything you've let us know.
This has been cool, man. Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, go for it, man.
You prefer terps over THC? Like when you go like to a dispensary, like you're looking for a product, you prefer like a higher yielding THC over terpenes, or do you prefer?
I will never shop based off of THC potency. And let that be a reminder to any bud tender out there that's just saying this is the highest testing one for the cheapest price. Please do yourself a favor and understand what you're saying. Like that just does not translate. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a better experience with the higher THC. For me, it's all about the cannabinoid to terpene ratio, right? If the higher the terpene and the lower the THC and that lower the number on the ratio, that shit's going to get you blasted. That's going to give you that entourage effect. So, no, and especially like when we're making selections, we have to pay attention to the test results because, again, it's got to sell, right? We want to make sure that we're putting people in a position to win with these genetics, but at the same time, hell no, man. I'm going off of flavor and effect, right? So that's a big piece around why I love to do why we do the activations like with Your Highness. You know, we just launched in Nevada, like this, you know, during the 420 weekend, we just went MSO, and that was really fun to be able to launch in Planet 13. Like, shout out to Your Highness team. Like these collab shirts, there's like 7 or 8 different designs that they collabed with Planet 13 on. And so these merchandised collaborations are in all their Planet 13 stores. So again, it's really exciting to see that the mainstream brand that can be purchased in any Spencer's, any Zoomies around the world is now like having this powerhouse, cannabis brand where you can start to educate on flavor, right? We have agnostic bags and flavor profiling because that's what we're looking to do is we're able to build that trust and transparency around, this is that flavor profile, this is that lineage of whatever's in that bag. Because again, market to market, we're gonna have a little bit of a different genetic selection. But again, like we see that we've got these like the lip smackers and the residual sugar and the dragon glass, like those will be going into the brand, and again, it's gonna be based off of our curation and batch specific. We don't just produce shit and put it all in the bag. No, we're very selective to say, this one actually checks the box or it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I only ask because I've actually been at dispensaries where like the bud tenders will actually recommend me a higher yielding THC over terpene, over flavor, just because the number's higher. So
right.
It's gonna get you more, higher. So
just misinformation.
And, I'll purchase
Sure.
it just because of the numbers, only to find out that I'm not really getting as high as another strain that
Sure.
has like let's say 17% THC compared to a 25.
Yeah, and everybody's endocannabinoid system is a little different.
Yeah.
Like for me, I consume based off of aroma, right?
Okay.
Like I can't shop just looking at a spreadsheet. Like that doesn't do it. I want to be able to go through all 19 of these and be like, I want to try that one first.
Okay.
Like the nose knows. And Jeremy Plum, one of the most amazing humans in this world that I've ever had the pleasure of learning from, wrote a really cool paper on the olfactory and like how the overall sensory experience when you smell cannabis, it relates to memory, it relates to emotion. Like to me, like that is so important, bro. Like I can't stress. Like that's why a lot of the nostalgic strains out there.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's NL5. Whenever I smell NL5, it's like, dude, or like a Tangy. Like growing up, and when I was in high school, like my homie's dad had a club card in Oakland, and he always had like a Tangy and an NL5 in there. I'm like, ooh, like that smell. That was like,
Tangy
of course,
solid.
we're always like snagging a couple nugs from that, but it just smelled so good.
Yanni Goo.
Oh, the Afgoo, yes.
That's a benchmark for me.
Yeah.
Like if I could get a hold of that one today, I will buy it.
Chem Dog and Bubba, man. Chem Dog
Regardless
and Bubba.
of test results, man, like that's that's the thing, and it's unfortunate because maybe the bud tender that you were dealing with just didn't have the right person to educate them yet.
Yeah.
So again, we encourage bud tenders to come to the Connect. We want them to learn with us, and ultimately, I want them to see why we're stoked off of flavor profile and aroma as opposed to test results.
It doesn't just stop at cultivation.
Hell no. That's what this is about, bro. It's literally the entire connection of from seed to cell.
I love it.
And that's a big piece around it. Like we want bud tenders and retailers and buyers, like that's who we wish were coming to the Connect events. And we're starting to get more show up too. Like again, it's a big piece of it.
What's your forecast for the rest of the year? What do you got going on? I know majority of it is the Connect event right now, but what do you guys got planned? I know you got the gas battle coming up.
Yep, we got the gas battle royale next week. We're really pressing on some hot topics in the cultivation space.
Salts and organics.
Yeah, man. Like that was cool discussion. We had Salt Wars back in February where we invited
I like that one.
Some top nutrient salt companies to have a respectful debate. And that's what we want as cultivators. I don't want to get sold anything. No more marketing.
Yeah.
I just want to know why. I want to know if this if this particular product line is best suited for my farm and my condition.
Yeah.
We don't have the same environment. We don't have the same anything. Every farm is unique to its own.
Yeah.
So there should be an opportunity for us to make that decision on our own.
In a perfect environment, if you were to do things, you go on salts or organics.
Synganic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I mean,
best
I
of
am-
both worlds.
Kevin Crouch was on our panel during the organics and terps. Shout out to Kevin Mad Trichome on Instagram because he's a
Beast.
goat, dude.
Beast.
He's a legendary breeder. He's a massive commercial cultivator. Like he's managing, the Delighted facility right now, 1400 lights, double stack, crazy environments.
LED King.
Yeah, dude, the LED canopy king. And Kevin taught me so much about organics and overall just the Synganic approach because, dude, the amount of drippers that he has to maintain is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
he dropped some game during that panel discussion, which will be dropping on YouTube. I'm sorry I haven't gotten up yet. Just been a little bit backlogged, but that will be dropping.
Busy man.
And so he said something about he runs organics with his salts, right? He does a weekly inoculation of some aminos, and there's like a whole ag pack that he actually collaborated with Mark Irvin, founder of Green Grow, and Kevin Vu at Indoor Sun with.
Yep.
So Kevin's like, I'm concerned about running organics through my drip lines. It's going to get clogged.
Yeah.
And the decision to bring in a lactose carrier to deliver those microbes was the solution.
Wow.
So he basically changed up the way that
So you can still send the organics through your lines.
correct
Wow.
without having the concern of getting clogs. So the viscosity of that was cool.
No
but-
biofilm and stuff.
Correct. But Kevin still has an SOP of a weekly flush.
Yeah.
He still does that weekly flush of his drip lines to make sure that he has no sense of concerns around clogs.
So something like that, can you run hyperchlorous with a Synganic approach? And
No.
no, because you'll kill
Hypochlorous-
all your microbes, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And you're either running sterile or you're not.
Huh.
Sterile, again, from deep water culture perspective,
Yeah.
we've tried both. We've ran sterile with managing our ORP, our oxidation reduction potential levels,
Yeah.
by using hypochlorous acid and dissolved oxygen rates to make sure that we're in that safe range.
Yeah.
Now we've also tried the organics route, and sometimes that's more of like crop insurance, right? When you're using organics in your plants,
Yeah.
because it's going to combat any sort of waterborne pathogen or whatever might sporulate, like a fusarium or pythium
Yep.
challenge. Because again, temperatures change.
Using
lighting-
hyperchlorous?
Well, we're right now we're on an organic method right now,
Oh,
but
shit.
we are going to be exploring another sterile route back with again just exploring.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be able to find where are we at today? How do we make it better? And again, we're always trying to make the improvements happen.
Because there's two sides of that, right? You can go sterile, you can have hyperchlorous, you're going to kill off pathogens and whatnot. But then if you're introducing stuff to beneficial bacterias and fungi and stuff and basically priming its immune system to other fungi and bacteria and whatnot, you're kind of doing it that way too then, right?
Yeah, you could, for sure. And I think going back to the question earlier, made me think about was I wasn't aware of like managing your trace mineral levels in the leaf tissue. Like to me, that was boom, mind blown. Okay, now I understand why organics and why certain terpene levels are starting to happen through managing it with the trace mineral counts.
Yeah.
So again, that was one of the most influential panels to me because I love the Synganic flower that I get to try.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff is just the terpiest fucking weed, and it's mouth coating.
It's basically what we do.
It's great, man. I love that approach. And again, I'm new to the organics world because I've always been sterile.
Yeah.
I've always been very, keep it super clean. Let the pathogens die off initially. Don't even give them a chance to
Yeah.
even sporulate. But no, I'm a Synganic fan.
I love it. I love Synganics.
Yeah.
On that, how do you feel about bricks? Is bricks anything that's kind of come about?
Not for me personally, not really.
No?
I'm more looking at the health of the plant, right?
Yeah.
If the genetic potential is there and the selection that was made, has a good outcome. Again, it's just really just making that plant survive, live in the most optimal environment. And I'm more focused on the irrigation strategy. So if you're,
100%.
again, people are probably going to be very disappointed that I say that, but I'm just not managing. I'm not looking at the bricks level. But when you're looking at it from like a living soil or an organic route,
Yeah.
I'm sure you need to pay attention to that.
something that's going to be flavorful and terpene and stuff, I'd assume would have a higher bricks level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hell yeah.
So again, for me, the most flavorful plants are the happiest plants.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
you know, give them the optimal environment, treat them well. And, you know, again, that's why it's cool to have, irrigation strategies in place for certain genetics and being able to monitor those with Arroyo or any other substrate, company that you're working with. Like, really dive into that shit. Like, understand why you're managing and make sure you're measuring your runoff.
Yep.
That runoff tells you exactly what's happening in the plant. It's not always just rely on what's happening in the substrate. I want to know what's actually happening to that plant.
Yeah.
So daily runoff checks is something that if you're not doing right now, you should definitely start to re-implement. Get back to the basics.
Heck
Just
yeah.
because there's all these cool tools and tech, don't forget about the basics.
100%. You got any final tips or shout outs that you'd like to give to the world?
Tell them about your event coming up.
Yeah, man. So next Friday, the 3rd, down in El Monte at the Hydro Source, we've got the Gas Battle Royale. Again, we had to save that one for Los Angeles and make sure that everyone that's still holding on to that gas and
Heck yeah.
part of the room has got a chance for that.
That's going to be exciting.
Now, the panel discussion should be really cool. This is the refrigeration hot gas reheat versus independent dehumidifiers.
I
All
got a
right,
lot of
so-
people like that in my DMs right now.
Right, man. So we're talking about environmental control and earth-friendly or a more green initiative to dehumidify our rooms.
Yeah.
That's good.
And this is where there's a lot of curiosity online. Our panelists will be Tom Grin, who's a hydronic refrigeration reheat expert.
I think that's a
And
fellow I follow.
Yeah, Tom's super knowledgeable about this. So when I asked him if he joined the panel, he was like, "Well, what is the Connect?"
Yeah.
Because he's a commercial refrigeration expert like
Yeah.
this, like cannabis. He's also an avid he's a connoisseur. His appreciation for cannabis is like, yeah, I can see why he's really diving into this space because he brings a lot to the table.
Heck yeah.
So Tom will be representing that side. We have Quest and Andon also
Nice.
on
Wow.
panel.
Okay.
And that like again, I'm humbled that I just said yes. Quest and Andon will be on this panel
Heck
talking
yeah.
about
Heavy hitters.
how the independent dehumidifiers will still have a space against refrigeration reheat.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm like, okay, cool. Now we need some cultivators to speak on this that are using this.
Yeah.
So I've invited Miami Mango. So Alex will be on panel with us.
Okay.
And Alex will share his perspective from a construction side
Okay.
and a build-out perspective with some engineering behind that.
Yeah.
So when I talked to Alex about this, it was, I'm not going to spill the beans too much, but he's bringing a very unique perspective of why he had to look at refrigeration, hot gas reheat. And we also have Chad Salute, Maven Genetics, Kush Alley.
Yes, sir.
Chad is one of the coolest fucking dudes in the world. I love you, dude. Like you've leveled me up tremendously, and he also has been running electric reheat for about 6 months now. So he has a very unique perspective of electric reheat versus hydronic reheat, and there's a big difference, right? So I'm actually pretty excited because we might have LADWP joining us for that discussion as well as an
Jeez.
audience member. So, excuse me, when we start talking about, green initiatives and, what we're doing for the industry and like how we level everybody up,
Yeah.
we want that to be involvement. We want the involvement to be with the municipalities as well, right? Because as they get money for rebate programs, we want to be able to retrofit and be able to join the program. But if it's a built out program, that's, meaningful. Yeah. So I think that's why we're really stoked that they're considering coming to the discussion so they can learn about commercial
awesome.
cultivation. Like they're still learning the basics of like 18 and 6,
Yeah.
12 and 12. Like
Heck
that's real talk. So if we can help them understand what it is that we do and why we're passionate about trying to get a higher rebate so that we can actually implement these strategies, because LEDs are not cheap. I know the cost has gone down dramatically, but it does.
Especially with under canopies now too.
and
just added more load and energy.
Yes, sir. Exactly. And you just increase the transpiration rates in your plants. So what do we need more of? Dehues.
Yes, sir.
So at the end of the day, it's okay. Yes, there's LED rebate credits, but now what about HVAC credits?
Yeah.
So this is something that we really want them to be part of to understand why we're talking about this. And overall, it's it's going to challenge the industry in a different way now. We got to be thinking a little bit more green conscious.
So that was my next question. Have you seen the proof in the pudding yet with reheat?
I have.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so stoked to put this panel on, man. Like
Heck
it
yeah.
is. And here's the thing: I'm not saying independent dehus are not necessary. Like there's a time and the place for every solution because not everyone's going to have the opportunity to do a hydronic reheat. But I also understand that there's a time and place for electric reheat too. I'm just not a fan of adding in more electricity costs.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anybody should be.
Yeah.
So I think that there's just so many solutions. That's what we're doing. We're cultivating curiosity.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of the panels discussions. It's not to stir shit up. It's not to make somebody look inferior. It's to give perspective and to ask questions.
And give solutions too.
That's it, dog. Just find solutions.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. Sounds pretty cool. Well, we gotta start wrapping it up here soon, but
We got one more question though.
I know. Go ahead, bro. Do the honors.
So the name of our podcast, right, is Smoky Situations.
Sure.
Do you have any smoky situation stories you'd like to share with us?
Oh.
Whether it's a good one or a bad one.
Oh man. Well, I think Joe Cimino has always said that, you know, if you haven't flooded your res, you know, it's coming. You know, we've all flooded our rooms
Classic.
before.
Yeah.
I mean, man, there's been a number of smoky situations, but damn, I wish I would have known about that. I would have thought about this a little bit deeper to give you a better answer.
Yeah.
Next time.
Next time.
Heck yeah.
First
Because you're going to come back on, man. You have to.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to, if you guys are willing to have me on, I'd love to,
course,
you know,
dude.
do a check back. Because again, guys, there's so many cool things that we got going on. How can I help you guys? What can I do to bring you value on this show? What can I do
Please.
to help you guys grow the show? Whatever it is that I can do along your journey, I'm here to help.
Yeah, appreciate you, bro.
We appreciate that so
Do you guys
much.
have anything for me right now?
Just give us a shout out when it drops. You know, help us repost, let the people see. You know, help us help you. And
Yeah, we're just trying to get the followers right now. We're just trying to
Well, you better
establish ourselves.
add whoever's on the show. You make sure you add them as a collaborator on that
course.
reels.
Yep.
Not a post. I'm talking about reels. Like that's
Yeah.
the engagement secret, right?
Yep,
Just
sir.
make sure that you're doing collaborations on the reel side. I'd be happy to do that. You know, tag me as the Sergio _ the custodian and at the Connect community. Like those two handles, perfect. Like I will absolutely reshare those and be accepting those as collaborators. We
Heck
share
yeah.
our networks. That's all we're trying to do is just share the networks.
Where does the custodian come from?
Man, even better question. So, my dad was a garbage man for 32 years, and at a very early age, we never questioned work ethic. Like we were just always brought in to help do whatever. I used to have the opportunity to go work art and wine festivals as a kid, to go, you know, for a weekend and work with my dad. He worked in Los Altos in the Bay Area, so we'd go and we'd actually like pull the 96-gallon totes from the festival where it was, you know, getting full of trash. We'd wheel it all the way back to the trash can. I was like in 2nd and 3rd grade. You know, I was a little dude like pulling around these big ass trash cans, but I'd be making good money that weekend. It was like $200-300 for that weekend of work.
Oh, wow.
That's why I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go buy that Sega Genesis that I wanted. So when there was an opportunity to work, I loved it because then I could buy stuff. Like I was the one pair of shoes kid, and I think JP dropped this on the podcast not too long ago. I forgot which episode, but when he said that, I was like, oh shit. I got one pair of shoes every, you know, at the start of every new school year.
Heck yeah.
Like that's how it was. So you looked forward to that one pair of shoes.
You got it at the start
Now
of the
he's got
school
the
year.
J's on.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, dog. Like,
Cactus
I like-
Jacks too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. So work ethic was always something that was instilled at an early age. My mom was an entrepreneur as a house cleaner, so she started her own house cleaning business. And so I was super embarrassed. Like when I was a kid, she used to pull me out of school because I would like to help her, like go clean houses, whether it was like vacuuming or, you know, cleaning the bathroom. Like I'd get socks and like, you know, scrub the toilets. But then I would like always see myself leaving school, my friends' judgment, you know, and I didn't feel good about that. So I was always embarrassed. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the doctors, you know. They're like, damn, dude, like, what's up? And I was really going to help my mom clean houses. And so I'm fortunate because looking back on those times and those experiences, I was very, you know, embarrassed. But now I'm like, damn, I learned what hard work was at a very young age. And I got to buy cool shit because I worked hard. You know, my parents blessed me with that. So again, I'm the first person to clean shit up. Like I'm at the bottom of any organization because I want to make sure that you are here for whatever reason it is. If there's a challenge, I want to help clean that mess up. So I think the custodian was really like just a moniker that kind of stuck at an early phase in this pathway, specifically because I was doing a lot of cleaning.
Yeah.
I was good at cleaning. My mom instilled cleaning habits into me. And so going into the nursery, you know, cleaning habits were just, it was bred in me. And so being able to create that cultivated familia culture of cleanliness, that's why we started off. So, you know, it was just embedded in me. But again, I'm not afraid to clean shit up. Doesn't matter how successful you get, stay humble, have gratitude for the gift of work, and just be grateful that we're here.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Your passion for the plant, man, is unmatched. And again, I can't thank you enough for coming on. We're a young company, just up and starting. So the fact that you're already seeing the value in us is awesome, man. So we appreciate you heavily.
Absolutely. I'm proud of you guys for doing this. This is a cool setup. Like I see what you guys have got going on here. This is legitimately like the foundation. You guys don't have to be fancy. You don't have to have the bells and whistles. You've made this place fucking cool. So where you're gonna be going in the future now, like sky's the limit. Just fucking have fun. Thank you for bringing me on. Like I'm honored that I was one of the earlier guests to be on here. And
when we had
we
our
had to
guest
set it off
lineup,
hot,
you were
man.
like one of the first ones that popped into our head.
that's what's up.
We had like a whole list, and we're like, boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, we need him for sure.
That's cool.
And
Who else have you guys had on the show?
We brought on our owner, real cool man. And then
Tell 'em
before
off.
that, it was just some rough draft episodes.
Okay.
We might bring on Trinity Association.
Cool.
Actually, no, he's gonna come on.
Shout
and then
out
we
to
got
Jordan. Hell yeah.
Tell them off mic about the other ones.
Don't want to give it up to you yet.
No, that's
all right. We'll give the Trinity
We'll tell
right
you.
now.
Cool. Well, I would love to get more people on your guys' show.
That'd be
Oh
great.
yeah,
that'd
bro.
be super
If you
cool.
know anybody that wants to collab or just come hang out or just be
100%.
on here, just
Guys, like that's what we do. Like, yes,
Yeah,
this is
the
a platform.
community.
Level
we all
up,
want to
man.
share
Level each
stories.
other up.
Everybody has a perspective. Now it's how you take that and really level each other up with it, right? What are you doing? Like, ultimately, that's really why I love doing what we get to do, is because we get to gain perspective every time.
You're the GOAT, man. You're the
That's what
GOAT.
it's about.
I appreciate you guys.
All right.
Appreciate you, brother.
look into
Sergio-
that camera, bro. Tell them where they can find you. Any events you got coming up? Want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, so you can find me at Sergio_the custodian, at the Connect community, at Cultivated Genetics. And if you want to be at the Gas Battle Royale next Friday, May 3rd in Los Angeles, we'd love to have you. Come learn about refrigeration, hot gas reheat, and it should be cool. Should be a really fun event. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I'm blessed. I'm honored. Until next time.
Thank you, brother.
Sergio Picasso, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.